us for the ICU bed. We went to different hospitals, but they could not admit. Nakasero Hospital was full, and then Novich gave some silly lame excuses that I would agree because it's your private hospital, it's okay. But I think this is where also government is going to look into certain things quickly. Here I was told at Novich that they are servicing their machines in the ICU. But of course they were worried about the COVID issue, and that's why they did not take in the patient. So we were stuck in Zambia Hospital, and at the same time, Zambia Hospital, the ICU was closed at that moment because it had 2 patients who had died of COVID. So they had sprayed it and they had closed it. And of course, in suspense, you'd expect that definitely the doctors and the nurses who are working in the ICU also were under quarantine. So that means the Zambia Hospital ICU was out, which is understandable. So when this was happening to Shortcut on Monday evening, we had no option of ICU until Tuesday morning. Is it Tuesday morning? Yes, Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning, when we went to the hospital at about 5 in the morning, because he wasn't fine. He was tired. Actually it was Tuesday morning. We went to the hospital, and that's when we luckily enough called different other hospitals, and I had the certificate that he was COVID free. The other one that I told you about, that certificate was about 6 days old. So I believe it was valid. So my sister called Victoria Hospital, and Victoria Hospital asked if we had that certificate. And once we sent the certificate, they agreed to take in the patient because they had an ICU bed. So we started to prepare, and we left by 7:30 on Wednesday morning. We left in Zambia Hospital and we headed to Bukoto. Now, he was breathing and he was on oxygen in the ambulance. We left in Zambia, we came through traffic jam, we followed Ginger Road. The quickest route was through Lugogo bypass. Now, I was driving behind the ambulance. But remember, Lugogo bypass has humps that are invisible. This is where the KCCA is going to come in. And this is where I am also going to become a different person when it comes to the things that people in different offices must be able to do. When this ambulance, remember, when you have a patient, you're fighting, you're trying so much, you're telling the doctors to hurry, you're asking the ambulance man to drive quickly so you can make it, or your patient can make it to hospital. And guess what happened? The ambulance hit the hump, and whatever was inside is imaginable to everyone who's watching this. At that moment, it was my sister, one nurse, my policeman, and the driver on the patient, and I was in the other car. But I could see that the ambulance flew. That there's a hump between, there's a bar, what's the name of the hideout? Immediately after hideout, as you're heading towards Kila Road, that is from Rugogo. There's a hump, but it's not visible. And there's also 2, I think they're about 2, but you can't see them. So remember, the ambulance guy is rushing for your sake. So when they hit the hump, the ambulance stopped, and everything had jumped off the boy. So the nurse tried to put back everything. We spent there about 40 seconds to 1 minute and a half. And then we drove again quickly. Lucky enough, from there was no pothole or hump. And at that moment, the ambulance got to Victoria. And I parked quickly and I came up. That's when I could see that my sister's face was not smiley. And I believe that marked the beginning of all the trouble that we have gone through. Now, the doctors in Victoria Hospital did a very good job. They tried in every way. There were more than 10 doctors on this boy in less than 2 minutes. In less than 2 minutes, there were more than 10 doctors. Let me show you something. You need to be strong if you have to see this. Sometimes we do blame. I know Zambia Hospital has been blamed for a lot of things, a lot of them. But sometimes we have to really appreciate what we get. We may not get exactly what we want, but I believe that we owe the people who sometimes work so hard to do for us what they do for us. I really appreciate what the doctors in Zambia Hospital did, and I really appreciate what the doctors in. If you take a look at this photo shows you doctors and nurses on one person in an ICU trying to revive him. If you take a look, you can see that, okay, I won't keep that for so long. So our medical personnel are very willing to deliver good services. Yes, there are those who are not. Nga bo bye bakola bali mu nsi ndala nnyo, naye in Uganda we have doctors and nurses who are willing nga ate bakozi nnyo. Where is the gap? The gap is at that moment going to depend, because now, after my boy died, we had no single idea that, of course, he was positive of COVID. Of course, we had the receipt, or the certificate. So how do you blame someone that you didn't tell me that my boy had COVID? I can't blame the hospital because the certificate was given to me. Now, I called in for a second test. Remember, that is Wednesday morning. The test was taken on Saturday. We are waiting for the results on Wednesday evening or Thursday. So that's when we did whatever we did. But because of the COVID situation, I decided we are not going to have a vigil in Kampala. Since he died in the morning, that evening, we headed to the village and we spent the night in Masaka, of course, with a few friends. And you know the rules and regulations now, the SOPs when it comes to burial, a few people, lucky enough we were. So at about on Thursday, at about midday, that's when I get a call from KCCA telling me that my boy had contracted COVID. So, of course, it was up to me in person to now let all the mourners know and to talk to them well, to make sure that all of them, we don't have a panicky situation. And indeed, I had 2 certificates of the boy when he was negative. And neither was I going to argue that the boy had contracted COVID, because already I knew right now in Kampala, the COVID has surged. It is a very bad situation that we are in Uganda. I have seen so many people argue. I have seen so many people say that it doesn't exist. I have seen so many people, you know, it hurts. It hurts to see that our politicians, educated people in Uganda, are politicizing COVID. The situation that we have been hearing about in Italy, in the USA, could be knocking on the door. As I speak right now, my fans and friends, all the hospitals that were gazetted for COVID, all the beds are full as we speak now on this live. And the ministry is right now looking for ways. I believe by tomorrow, Nambole will be open, but Nambole won't take more than 2 weeks. It will be full. I can guarantee you that COVID is in existence. It is there. It is here. It is in the communities now. And it is because Ugandans, we refused to listen, to follow the SOPs. Someone may ask, how did the sick boy get the COVID yet he was COVID-free? The nurses are the same that we keep calling. If a nurse has not checked on your patient, you feel bad. I made 1 million phone calls because I wanted attention from doctors and nurses. You're happy when a doctor comes to check on your patient, but it's the same doctor who's checking on all the patients. It's nearly the same nurses who keep checking on the patients the same whole week. So how am I going to blame a nurse for transmitting COVID to my patient? So the situation today as we speak, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I decided to talk about Alan's death, my son's death, is not because I'm the only one who has lost a son, or he's not the first person who has died, or the last, but maybe because God gave me the gift of being famous and popular, of having a following, that maybe if I speak about this, maybe it will do an effect for my fellow Ugandans to wake up again and listen and agree and believe that COVID is real and it is here. And it is in plenty as we speak. COVID yayingidde e Uganda mungi, mwali mu bantu abasukka n'emitwalo 15 babiri, mwali mu bannayuganda. Amalwaliro gajjudde we twogerera. Nambole bagenda muggulawo, naye I believe ne Nambole agenda kujjula in less than 2 weeks. Kakati okusaba kwange kumwe ababadde bagamba nti lwaki bakubidde essimu ng'omwana amaze kufa. Why did they call you after his death to tell you that he had COVID? They are politicizing. I even actually saw a video of a lady who lost a mom who had a heart problem and other issues. For that family, they are saying that their mother died of the heart problems. Yes, she had those problems, but the death was activated by COVID. COVID agenda kuta, it kills people who have those problems because it goes to the lungs and it creates breathing issues. So already when you have a problem with the heart and your lungs are infected with COVID that same second, you have less than 36 hours to live. Abalala mwebuuza mugamba nti muli mu malwaliro, you're in hospitals jumping, dancing, and the doctors are saying you have COVID. No, it is because you don't have the chronic diseases. So it is not affecting you that much. Effect just eri ku maaso go ne gafuuka red n'okolola muko wano because obuwuka bwa COVID bubeera wano bwewati mu bulago. We busooka okwebaka mu bulago bw'onywa nnyo amazzi agookya obusinga bukkirira mu lubuto ne bufa asidi. Naye bw'otanywa amazzi gookya wano mu bulago bwe buvaawo buyingira mu mawuggwe mu lungs kuba buba bumaze okuwera. Awo we buyingira mu lungs ne bulyoka bublockinga. Kati woba obadde ne TB oba tosobola kuwona mu 36 hours. So ffe twali tukimaki nga tuva ensambya okudduka ku Victoria Hospital. Twali tugenda kufuna ventilator because singa twatuka ku ventilator shortcut yali badde mulamu ne bwe yali badde alina COVID. Kati ensonga nebanga already hampu etukubye. And you see Ugandans politicizing nti lwaki bagayafudde COVID. Ekyokubiri, breath ye efudde lwakuba COVID yazze mu mawuggwege eyabadde ateredde eggulo. Okitegeera, eyabadde ateredde eggulo kubanga eddagala ya TB yali alimazeeko the first 2 weeks. Usually when you do the first 2 weeks of medication eya TB, there are things that happen. Signs eziraga improvement zibeera obvious. Secondly, oba tokyasiiga. So improvement eno gyembalaze nga smilinga, iyo improvement yali afunye 2 weeks after the medication ya TB. Naye nga of course yali vulnerable to COVID because obulwadde bwe bwali mawuggwe. So kati yenna yamukwatako omusawo oba nurse n'abumusiiga bwagenderawo mangu mu mawuggwe kuba gaali vulnerable. That's why yamala night number nga lwana n'okussa naye nga ate ICU y'ensambya yali nzigale. Ne tufuna ICU y'enzigule ku makya ne tutasobola kutuuka lwa hampu. Naye twali tumuvingidde ki okuva ensambya omwana nga contractinze COVID nga amublokinze amawuggwe. Twabadde mu kuziika ne batukubira essimu we batugambye nti yafudde COVID. Neebaza nnyo bakwano bange mwenna kuba mwasigadde, abantu bange bonna basigadde, abasawo ne bajja ne tuziika bulungi nnyo. Mutabani wange yeebase bulungi nnyo. Ne tuwuliriza SOPs ze baatuwadde, naye ffenna nga bwe twavudde e Kampala ne batukebera. Now, jukira nti I had also tested for COVID because we used to go. Ffenna nga bwe twagendanga okulambula, abasirikale bange babiri, my 3 sisters, my wife, kwegamba ffenna nga bwe twagendanga mu ddwaliro. Bwe baamala okukebera omwana test eya Saturday, naye mbayita ewange ewaka ku Sunday. Nembaga naffe mutukebere kuba nina abaana ewaka, saagala kujja bulwadde mu ddwaliro mbuleetewa ewaka. So we also tested from home on Sunday. Now, on that day, when they were giving us results, I mean when the boy was dying, I also got my results back. The ones that I took for Sunday, I got them back on Wednesday. All of us were negative. Now, the 2 nurses, and I want you to listen to me carefully. The 2 nurses who were on the bedside of my son, one of them was negative and one of them was positive. He could not believe that he's positive. So I had to really speak to him. I had to really convince him. As I was talking to the authorities of KCCA, we managed to agree, and then he directed the KCCA to where he was staying. They picked him up and they took him to Mulago Hospital. On the way to Mulago Hospital, the man called me and told me, I'm feeling very weak. I'm now coughing. I'm dizzy. My head is heavy. And my nose, I can't smell anything. I told him, thank you for agreeing to be picked. Because he did not believe. Because he's the one who was with my son for 1.5 months, night and day. So him to be convinced that that my son died of COVID, unless if he had gotten COVID. Now, the day they picked him that same afternoon is when he started all the major signs of COVID. And as I speak, he's in Mulago Hospital, and he's thanking me for having convinced him to accept, because more and more signs came when he was in Mulago, and now he's being, of course there's no specific treatment, but there's monitored treatment of boosting immunity. And the main reason why they take you, the main reason why positive people have been taken in Uganda to hospitals or to isolations is to minimize transmissions. It wasn't majorly to treat, but it was to minimize transmissions. But unfortunately, even as we are speaking today, I hope the ministry is watching me, and I hope Uganda is watching. The game plan has changed, or the game plan should change. Let us agree that Ugandans now have COVID in the community. Let's say there are 5 million people or Ugandans in Kampala during the day. And let's say there are 1 million Ugandans in Kampala in the night. So if 200 or 300,000 Ugandans catch COVID, we don't have those beds in Kampala. The game plan has changed. We don't have those facilities in Kampala. We don't have the money to build those facilities now. The president used to talk about these things. What is supposed to happen? My advice, my prayer to the ministry, to Madame Acheng, please change the formula. You can no longer take the positive people. Start new awareness. Prepare to start quarantining people in their homes. Because you will not manage to quarantine people who are as strong as I am, as they've done videos in Mulago Hospital and all other places when they are dancing, yet the badly off ones are about to start. The ones who are not breathing, like my brother, he would have gotten a bed in Nakasero Hospital, but Nakasero was full. So if Mulago gets full of people who are dancing and playing music, yes, they have COVID, but that type of people should be quarantined from their homes, so that now the hospitals are cleared for the ones who move to step 2 of the sickness. Because it might not be so long from now that Ugandans are going to start dropping one by many numbers. So we need, I'm thinking and I'm praying, I might not be a doctor, but with the good common sense that I possess, these medical facilities should be prepared for the people who cross the line, who have breathing problems. Otherwise, the transmissions are now permanent. They are moving. Ugandans have refused to follow the SOPs. Now you have nothing to do. You just have to now save those who cross the line. And now let the awareness go back to where it started. Now, what awareness? Boosting immunity. It is time to tell Ugandans how to boost their immunity and reconfirm to them that when you boost your immunity, you will not get sick of COVID. Or if you have COVID, within 10 days, it will be clear of your body if you boost your immunity. And boosting immunity is a few things that we are lucky as Ugandans. Most of those things are surrounding us. Oranges, lemons, tangawuzi, garlic, all these things. Whatever Uganda, whatever you are listening to from Europe, okuva mbaganda bafa America ne Bungereza nga babagamba okweyoteza okola bichi banange akadde katuuse. Corona atuse ali wamwe. Remember, we don't have enough test kits. We don't have enough, governments don't have enough test kits. Someone will come and say, nge Tanzania babireka ne bitambula. Yes, they accepted. Some people will live, some will die. That is the cost. I was talking to Isaac Ruchi. I want to thank Isaac Ruchi. Webale kuvayo Isaac Ruchi nokola ka video, because now it is up to us who are facing it okuddamu okuzaamu abantu belief after politicians making people think that COVID is politics. Now it has come. And who is going to die? Omuntu wa bulijjo, omuntu wa wansi gwobadde ozanyirako nti Museveni ali mu politics wa COVID. There are even doctors, they are responsible people. Ekisinga okuluma abantu abategeevu abasomyeko kwe kuyimirira mu mikwano gyammwe ne mutandika okuga nti ebyo ebintu bya politics kulya kasente. Yes, waliwo ababbye sente za COVID, naye omukulembeze kyagamba nti COVID mutuufu gyali, banaye gyali. Muleke kubuzaabuza abantu ba wansi, bantu ba bulijjo. Kati obulwadde buyingidde ge mazima. Era kati buli muntu alwala mulekerawo okwekweka. Tuveeyo. Isaac Ruchi webale. Thank you for coming out. Thank you omusirikale yani alwadde enagulu. Afande Hassan Kasinje. Thank you so much. Webale okuvaayo. Because now the trend is people are keeping quiet. Nina omuntu omuyeka gwe ngenda okwogerako naye nkusaba naawe oveeyo. Mukwano gwange okola ku NBS oli mulago. Naye nga munnamawulire yenna alina amazima nti kati naawe ali owakana kati ng'otuula ku TV nga nkulaba obuuza ebibuuzo mbu lwaki omukulembeze kino lwaki kino olw'okuba munyumirwa abantu abawakanya gavumenti. Kati ku ssaawa eno oli mulago. Oli mulago okola ku NBS mukwano gwange gwe. Njagala oveeyo obulire abantu nti oli mulago bakututeyo 2 days ago. You're my best friend. Tubeera twogera ku simu. Let us save Ugandans by reassuring them the danger of COVID. Ensi yaffe njavu.